And we're live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Eitan Suez. This is Tetrate Tech Talks, a weekly live stream where we feature a conversation with a guest and discuss technology and do technical demonstrations and much more. Tetrate is the enterprise service mesh company. Much of our focus is on service meshes, technologies such as Istio, Envoy, Kubernetes, and more. But we don't shy away from other topics. I would like to share with you our landing page, which looks something like this. And I'll go ahead and pop up sort of the link to it here on screen. And so if you're a first-time visitor to Tetrate Tech Talks, I would like to welcome you. If you're a repeat visitor, I'd like to thank you for being with us and exploring service mesh together. I'm really excited about today's episode 4. We're April 22nd. The time here locally, I'm in Austin, Texas. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time would be 9 a.m. And today we're going to explore a tool called Kiali with my guest, Lucas Ponce. And as usual, before we begin with the episode in earnest, there is some front matter that I would like to go through. But first of all, I just want to welcome everyone and say, if you are with us, don't be shy. Go ahead and say hello. Put a message in the comments. Tell us where you're from, and then we hope to make this as interactive as possible. That is, if you have a question for our guest, we would definitely hope that you participate in that conversation and post your comments, your messages as we go through it. All right, so let's begin. Just a second. Make this a bit bigger. So if you're new to Tetrate Tech Talks, again, I put the link here on our agenda, and you can always come to this landing page to find all the links that I will be sharing with the community. And the objective of these talks is to learn and to share knowledge, to get to know the members of the community, the people behind these technologies, right? There are people behind them. And above all, to have fun. And I'm really happy that our guest was up for both an interview and a demonstration, so that's going to be terrific. I'm your host, Eitan Suez. I work for Tetrate, the enterprise service mesh company, and I love to talk tech, and I hope you do too. All right, wow, we have Leandro from Buenos Aires. Welcome, Leandro. That's wonderful to have you with us. And Jay, thank you, from Philadelphia. Thanks for joining. So a quick recap on some of the topics we discussed in prior episodes. Last week, I was really grateful to have our CEO, Varun, interview Pratima Nambiar from Salesforce, and they were discussing their adoption. Salesforce is a company that adopted Service Mesh very, very early on. And that was, I hope you found a very interesting conversation, and I'd like to thank Pratima for coming on last week. We also talked about in prior episodes subjects that I hope you find apropos: Canary upgrading Istio, onboarding VMs on the mesh, and we've got a whole bunch of other topics that we're lining up for upcoming episodes. A quick recap of some of the events that took place this week. My colleague Peter ran an online workshop on WebAssembly and Istio and Envoy. And just to remind you, the materials for these workshops are freely available and accessible. So it's just a matter of coming onto our landing page, and all of the labs will be available and accessible to you right there. We also did a live event, which was such a nice change. This actually took place yesterday in Austin, Texas. It was called the Austin Roadshow, which took place in a cinema house. We had a giant projector. And it was so refreshing to actually interact with people live rather than doing it online. And let's focus a little bit on upcoming events. This is it. It's finally upon us. IstioCon 2022 is starting next week on Monday. There are sessions taking place throughout the week. And it's worth just kind of taking a look and taking a peek at the program and the talks that are all lined up. There is, I noticed, a keynote by Eric Brewer, which on Zero Trust with Istio, which I'm looking forward to listening to. Peter and I will be doing a workshop dubbed Istio 0 to 60. So if you're new to Service Mesh, this is probably the workshop for you. Now, the workshop is already sold out, which is both good and bad, but all of the recordings are going to be made available. So if you're already signed up and registered, we look forward to seeing you on Monday. That'll be on April 25th. And sessions go all the way through the end of the week, which is to say that next week, next Friday, will be a bye week for us here at Tetrate Tech Talks. That is, we are going to skip a week, and our next episode will not be until May 6th, where we will be talking to Brian Sletton, the author of an O'Reilly publication on WebAssembly. And then obviously the big conference, Service Meshcon and KubeCon EU, is coming up in the month of May. And I just wanted to reiterate or put on your radar the fact that Tetrate will be there in force. We actually are going to be conducting an immersion day the day before the conference begins. This is a free event that you're welcome to register for. So if you're going to be there for the conference, or if you happen to be in the area, you're welcome to register and join us for that event. So that's the announcements in a nutshell. We're doing another sort of live roadshow in Seattle next week. So if you're in that area, you might want to check out that link. But that's it for announcements for now. I'm going to check the comments real quick before we pivot on to our next topic. Okay. All right, wonderful. So I would like to introduce our guest. Let me bring him on. His name is Lucas Ponce, who comes to us all the way from Madrid, Spain. Welcome, Lucas. Lucas is a principal software engineer at Red Hat. He is a project committer with Kiali, lives in Madrid, and I'm going to let him fill in the rest of his biography, and as I allow him a chance to introduce himself properly.
Yeah, thank you, Eitan. Thank you a lot for the invitation. Really happy to be here. So yeah, as just commented, I work for Red Hat for several years ago. I started in the 90s doing geographic information systems, what today is pretty known like, the Google Maps. Yeah. I started my career with that technology. And after that, I moved to the Java platforms, and I spent most of my in the 2000 migrating systems to the new websites, also with public administration, telco, banking. Right, and I have the privilege to see in the first, in the first place, how the cloud evolves, right? How the market moves to the Kubernetes. That brings me to the service mesh technology, and yeah, so I'm one of the developers of the Kiali project.
That's wonderful. So yeah, I guess it goes without saying that you've that technology sort of came on your radar early, and you're probably an early adopter of that technology. And that leads me to my first question. One thing I don't know much about is the history of the project, how the Kiali project came to be, and I'm hoping you can sort of share that with us.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I think that we started at the same time that the Istio was developed, right? So the Kiali project, Istio is now like 5 years ago, right? Like, and Kiali is also 4.5 years ago. So we, with the developers of the Kubernetes or the cloud, especially, so we saw that the service mesh, that the user will need a technology like the service mesh just to scale, just to get big, just to try to deploy a lot of new workloads into the clusters. Some technology like the service mesh is something that they will require. And also when we came also from observability solutions, right, for previous cluster, for previous technologies like OpenShift, and we identify that this new technology adds more complexity to the cluster, right? And the market, the observability market, has a lot of tools, a lot of options. But one thing that they have in common is that they were not a single approach to give out-of-the-box solution for the service mesh user. And the team decided that that could be a good area to invest, just to provide a user interface that out-of-the-box gives you a lot of value. If you are a service mesh user, you want to scale, just to understand what is happening, try to simplify the complexity of managing the configuration, validation, etc. This is what we started. Another important key point that I would like to mention that we work in a company like Red Hat with everything is open source first, so community first. So for the first day, we try to get in contact with the Istio community to say, hey, we would like just to provide this an open source tools that everyone with whatever product they use, whatever platform they can use, also, and just to use the product, to use the project, try to give us feedback, and we are still learning. So I said, even if the project is 4 years old, we are still learning.
Staying young at heart. Huh?
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I forget. We tend to forget Red Hat was born out of open source, right? They started with Linux distribution, and obviously have gone to embrace more and more technologies, but always staying true to their sort of nature of supporting and promoting open source.
Exactly. All that we do, all our activity, even our discussions, we have a GitHub is a Kiali community, and all the line of code that we provide are public.
They're out there. Yeah.
We encourage everyone, even all our discussion, we try to be the most transparent that we can. Everyone can see what these developers of this community, the Kiali group, is planning, is doing, and also we encourage to everyone in the community of Istio to participate, to drop us some suggestions for new features or enhancements, because I say the learning part is pretty important for us, and we are also, because now this is a technology that started pretty with early adopters, right, and now it's getting mature, and as soon as it's getting mature, new use cases and how the people use Istio is evolving as well, and we are also evolving with them and try to add value and adapt and be flexible.
Yeah, and I can confirm everything Lucas is saying. I actually, in preparation for this, decided to dig a little deeper and work through the Kiali tutorial myself, and it's a great tutorial. And in the process, I all the repositories were there, and if I had a little bit of a contribution to make in terms of improving the instructions, it's not just the code base, but also the documentation is all there for you to review, submit pull requests, and contribute to, and help the project along, so you can be a part of the journey.
Yeah, thank you, Eitan, for being one of the contributors of the project.
It was a tiny little thing, so but of course, you're welcome.
All contributors are really welcome, and I also encourage everyone that is participating in the community also to participate in any way. Yes, we have people that like also to participate with suggestions, with features, also with testing. I can say that we have an amazing community where every day we have some user that comes to the chat and say, hey, I have a very big cluster with 2,000 of workloads and something is not working out very well. And I say, okay, thank you for telling us that, because that is a lot of information, a lot of valuable information for us, and we would like to learn what is happening, and we learn a lot from this kind of users. So I really encourage when something you are testing the whole Istio, not only the user interface, but you are testing Istio in your cluster and something is not working, please drop by the Istio Slack and also in the channels and share with the people what your findings, because we have a lot of people working on the community that we are eager to understand what is going on.
Yeah, that's true. You cannot learn in isolation. You have to know what others are doing, what their problems are, and that's how it completes your picture. How large is the team, if I may ask?
Yeah, well, initially we have 2 or 3 teams, because we have 2 teams of developers, one in Europe and another in US. About 4 or 5, more or less, is evolving.
Okay.
Also, we have another team of quality engineers, specialists, that also about 5-10 people, that is also evolving as well in the try to cover more service mesh Istio use cases. And we have an increasing community of contributors. So, we have also contributors that, for example, we started to have the first contribution for the project came for users that try to address platform-specific scenarios. For example, authentication, to try to make compatible the login, authentication, authorization with some specific tools. I guess that in that area, we have a lot of contributions, some notable ones, just like, to create an anonymous way to work. Also, another contribution that people that are embedding the project into their distribution. For example, one of the kiosk mode that to Kiali be embedded in other platforms came from this. And more we are seeing, especially from Asia, contributors that are trying to provide or to participate more in big feature, right? So we have some interest in multi-cluster scenarios as well, in scalability scenarios, and we have more contributors that are daily contributing with code into the project as well. So
okay, that's very encouraging. Yeah, you want to see that sort of traction, the usage, and in my experience, it's not an easy thing. As many other books I read about the practice of open source, some do it very, very well, but it's something you have to keep on working at. And
we can also do better, and this is something that we are also trying to encourage. One thing that we do, just also to comment, is that we have a sprint for 3 weeks. And at the end of the sprint, we have a community session as well, where we record while we were working the highlights of the version of the releases that we are going to provide. And also we have a Q&A session that everyone is welcome also to join, to provide feedback, to tell us. Also in the past, we have other users that are presenting demos of their work, or how they are using the Istio, the service mesh, or what are important for them. And it's also that we have it there, and we are happy to have all guests there.
Well, I see a question on the screen here. Although I'm sort of scratching my head a little bit. The question is, if Kiali is slow, what should I check first? It's a very broad question. The slowness can come from many different places, but maybe we could try to answer the question. If you could clarify, what do you mean by slow? Slow to maybe refresh?
I guess that perhaps is that. Yeah, I guess that the question is that one of the areas that we are working pretty hard is to make it Kiali to scale, right? To move from cluster with a dozen of namespace, with cluster of a few workloads, just to real cluster. This is scenario, right? And perhaps I guess that the question is in that sense, right? And I can tell that this is a pretty active area for the whole team, just to improve the scalability of the project, to be ready to show in a fast refresh to large number of namespace cluster. We are not yet there, but we are improving, and also one of in the latest version that user will see a lot of improvement in that area.
And I believe you have part of your presentation will touch on this again, so so stay tuned for the rest of the answer to that, as Lucas has a chance to demonstrate. Essentially, I think just monitoring a fairly large cluster with lots of namespaces. I'm kind of curious to know what's on the roadmap for the next 12 months. Like, what are in your mind, the things that stand out as sort of the big ticket items you guys want to accomplish in the next year?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I guess that one of the big areas that we are still working is in the scalability, right? And also it's a complicated area, but we are putting a lot of effort. Scalability in 2 dimensions. One dimension is more or less the backend, as the user was asking to be fast, improving the caching techniques, just to try to collect, because Kiali collects signals for several sources. It collects signal from Prometheus, with all the telemetry from the tracing, from logs, also from the configuration of Istio, also configuration from the Kubernetes, and try to process all this information, and provide a simplified but valuable high-level picture of what is happening in your mesh, what is happening in your cluster, right? So to make that fast, when your cluster is pretty big, it's a lot of information that we need to process, and some of the delays that we have are related to that, to the sizing, right? And this is something that we are investigating, studying what is the best approach to tackle, to increase the caching, to do more, to do more backlog work in that sense. And this is one area. And in the other area that we are improving is the usability, right? It's okay, when I have a cluster with hundreds of nodes, where should I put my attention, like a user, right? A user interface. Should I look everything, or should I focus in the workload that has some problem, right? we are pretty we are pretty active in that area as well. Just try to improve the layouts of the graphs, improve the techniques that we need to now to show information that you can read. If you cannot read it, just to hide some information to provide a better experience for the user, and also to try to make that fast. So this is the current area that we are going to keep working on that. And I say that the other area that we are also pretty active is in the correlation. Specifically, one area is that we have a lot of information from several places, right? From the configuration, from the telemetry, low-level information of the metrics, low-level information of the tracing. But I guess that the value is correlating that. It's okay, if I see a trace, that trace is slow, it's not slow, it's okay, it's not okay, how I can get more information, high-level information that is telling me, okay, I need to investigate this specific area, right? This is something that we are working. And also we continue with one of the first features that we introduced in Kiali is about the validation of the mesh. That the Istio creates or provides extensions of the configuration. We have a specific APIs for virtual services, destination rule, networking, configuration, plus security artifacts. And there are too many manual use cases. For example, if I don't type well a host, perhaps all the configuration is correct, but your mesh, your cluster is not going to route the traffic as you expected. And one of the big area of Kiali is to keep improving in that and tell the user, no, you have here this configuration, this virtual service is pointing to a workload that doesn't exist. You have a typo in the host, this service doesn't exist as well. Also, we are working pretty hard to try to link that a virtual service is linked with this gateway, with this destination rule as well. One of the improvements that we made the team made is the previous version is also to create some helpers. When you are browsing a YAML file of configuration, you can just stop in one line and tell you more help what this field means. Like linking. Okay, just to give you more hints that your configuration is more robust, and you will show that when something goes wrong or something is not working as you expect, you have more information and process information that is adding you value on top of all the information to tell you that, okay, so I have some wrong config there that is preventing me that my requests are going to work in the right direction.
Well, I find that exciting. I want to relate a little bit of my experience, my naive first encounter, which is like everybody has. They download the Istio distribution, they install the add-ons, they check them out, and the visualizations obviously really are a big draw. But then you move on to something else. And it wasn't until later when I sort of watched your workshop that I realized the product is so much deeper. And this idea of validation and assisting you. I mean, I know the Istio Cuddle CLI has like an analyze command or pre-check commands, things along that same theme. But it's wonderful to have a graphical dashboard with warnings and maybe a whole list of messages of things to look into. And it becomes almost like your assistant as you navigate that mesh.
Yeah, and also another area that we invest a lot is to provide ways to create configuration in a simplified way. So there are also some wizards, right, that you can use to create configuration. Or if you don't have access to the cluster, now we have introduced a preview mode where you can see, okay, what is the suggested configuration that Kiali provides, for example, to develop a fault tolerance or a request routine, and you can copy the configuration and use it in a different environment in case that you don't want to apply something in your scenario. So that's something that is...
okay. I hope your demo will include that as well, and we can actually see the manifestation of that feature. Well, that's terrific. All right, so here's a pointed question. At first, you install Istio, you install these. I think Istio calls them add-ons. There's the Kiali add-on, the Grafana add-on, the Prometheus. I've come to learn that obviously Kiali relies on metrics from Prometheus to draw some of its information from, and you mentioned other sources as well. And then you quickly realize that these tools are not really competing as much as they're complementary. They support each other. I learned from you, for example, I think that Kiali can show links to Grafana if you configure it, which is wonderful. So my question to you is, Other than Kiali, when you monitor a mesh, what other tools do you find most helpful that complement Kiali?
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's a good question. So one of the of the big features of the main feature that we have in Kiali is integration with other tools, especially with the Jagger or Grafana, because there are completely different and complementary spaces. So Kiali is pretty focused on the service mesh and Istio, right? To give you a high level out of the box that you don't need to configure anything else, right? And I guess that there are from here you have two potential directions. For one side, you may want to personalize and to create and to build your own domain, your own dashboard that are ready for your own company with very specific and ad hoc customization that are very valuable for you, but perhaps that will not be useful for the customer.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is something that we also link with Grafana, because typically we have a lot of customers that want to reuse or want to keep personalizing the dashboard in that way with very specific areas that are out of the scope of Kiali, right? And also in all sense, also we link with Jagger because Kiali is not a generic observability tool and is not in the roadmap to do that. So, and what we try to do is to do petty value out of the box for the Istio users. But we know that when you want to investigate in deep on trace or you want to investigate on span and get all the level of detail, you need to jump into this other tool that are specialized for this kind of work, right? Yeah. And this is why we also provide this kind of links, right, out of the box to say, okay, if you see and you have identified what is the area that you need to investigate, now you can have a small integration to this other tool just to keep investigating why something is not working as you expect, right? And I guess that's something that we will see that especially with the Istio service mesh, this integration will be more common for in general, because at the end the Istio, the service mesh technology is pretty close to the Kubernetes as well, and I visualize or I envision that probably the value will be to support better integration use cases for Kubernetes as well and other specific tools.
Yeah, there seems to be an increased awareness of the fact that like you said, combining multiple sources of information is where maybe you can surface some interesting higher level information about what's going on in your system. All right, so I'm going to try not to cannibalize too much of your time for this because I know you have a presentation. And so my last question to you is, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, I know next week is IstioCon. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the sessions. Are there any particular sessions that sort of drew your attention that you might want to share?
I participated in the past year, and this year I'm pretty eager to know about especially about the state of the Istio, about what is the direction. I'm pretty excited to see, because we saw this project from the beginning when we have the adopters, and now we have a lot of maturity in the market. For one side, I would like to learn, okay, what's next, what are the
what's out there,
the feedback, what are the direction of the project based on the users' feedback, right? And also, I would like also to spot, this customer real life experience. I will try to take the time to find the time to attend.
Real use cases. So you're saying adoption stories, what companies' experiences have been with service mesh and where they stand today. That's wonderful.
Because we learn a lot. I can tell that most of if not all, most of the features that you can see in the latest version of Kiali are suggested by this kind of feedback. That perhaps in some informal conversation we started to say, hey, it could be good if out of the box we provide this information or we provide this value. And that how to see from an informal conversation in a feature that we get the feedback from the user that, oh, I'm using that and it's pretty useful to me. It's helping me just to see if one workload is talking in a secure MTL connection with other or not. And that is pretty nice to see that, okay, that from how informal conversation we can just build something that is useful for the community. It's really great. And
I love it. Yeah, it's a sign of a healthy, I think, open source project, right? The fact that you're not building features for features' sake, that they actually are born in a need that is real. All right, I'm going to share your screen and I'm going to let you take it away from here and do your presentation. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, thank you, Ethan. And yeah, I would like to make it as dynamic as possible. So feel free to stop me if for any question. So I would like to. I have a small demonstration just to try to combine information for the newcomers. If you are new in Istio, how to try Istio and see Kiali. But also, I would like to show you what the latest feature, what we are working on, especially in scalability, preview, on the configuration, that could be useful for you. Even if you are a mid or advanced user in Istio, probably you didn't see this, right? So, okay, so what is our goal from Kiali is just to try to follow. I say that to follow what the main phrase of Istio is to simplify observability, traffic management, security policy with the leading service mesh. But I say to be the user interface, to be a console, to try to show you how to see all these features, right, in a way that are simple and you don't need just to go very deep, low level, just to understand how this technology is working for you, right? What I have here is I prepare a cluster a little bit different than what probably you are going to use, right? For example, if you want to jump into Istio, just you click to try Istio, go to the Getting Started, choose one platform of what that you have, try to follow the steps, and at the end of the steps, you will see that there is a step. Okay, yes, when you have installed all the add-ons, you will see the console, right? And you will see the typical booking application that I guess that everyone used to learn and try to follow the examples, to try to learn the basics, right? So, but I would like also to give some tips that probably can be helpful for everyone. So, yes, if when you have installed here and you have question about let me to go how to install Kiali, how to configure, how to try to adjust all this. Try to take a look with the quick start of Kiali, right? Try to take a look of all the operators, all the details about that. We have a lot of personalization, the way that we authenticate, the way that we can configure some of the features. So, yeah, I guess that is going to save you some time if you are performing any advanced install, right? Yeah, what I have here. So I have a cluster with the book info as mandatory, but also with more namespaces. I try to simulate a more real scenario, a more real, basis on the feedback that we are getting, right? So in my cluster, I have 20 namespaces with a lot of type of application of workload. So the first thing is in the overview is, okay, that perhaps people don't know, is that in the overview, you are going to see here all the namespaces in your cluster, and you're going to get information that what is happening. It's a summary of the health of the application, if you have some application with errors, with degradation, or if you have some application where the HT configuration has some warning, right? One tip is that you have 3 buttons here at the right, top right, that you can change the view, and you can get a more span summary, which, a first span of the metrics, how these namespaces are working, or even a full list one, just with more details about what are the labels of the namespaces, etc. You can also to change if you want to see the health by services application of workloads. And also one tip that is also interesting is the filter. Is, for example, when you have a real cluster, perhaps you want to focus on the failure one, or the degraded one. So it's something that you can filter and just to watch the specific one, right? So when I go to the namespace, the next step is imagine that, okay, I'm here, I have my failure and degraded one, and I want to watch this graph. This is the next step to do here, right? This is to watch in the graph, one of the features. So one of the more hints just to help to the user. So Kiali provides a lot of type of visualization. So it can give you a workload graph, can give you an application graph. Remember, an application is a set of services and workloads that sharing the same APP label in the Kubernetes. Also, you may have a service graph if you want to focus on the service, or version, right? So, more things. So you have a lot of displays options, which are pretty interesting, especially if you want to show, for example, the response time of the traffic. If you want to show the traffic distribution, if you want to show the traffic rate, right? This is something that can be pretty helpful, right, to do that. So more things. You can also, when select different namespaces, right? We can select also the namespace boxes just to group the namespace. And now we are also, as you can see, working in zoom in, zoom out feature, right? To try to show a hide information when you cannot read it, right? That's how to zoom in, zoom out this information, right? More interesting features. We can also, one of the most popular, I said, is the animation. You can see all the traffic representation by animated, right, with flows. All the flows represent the rate of the traffic of this. Also, you can see when you have some errors, you can see a different rate to do that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting about that, right? Yeah, more things. Especially one of the features that people ask a lot about the security, right? One of the questions that people in the service mesh area ask is, okay, how I can see the communication between this workload to this other workload. Let me to change that to make it more clear, right? Is under MTLS, right? So we can see that we have an icon, but we can click into the edge, and we will see here that, okay, the MTLS is enabled with details of the principal, right? It's something that we can do. Also, one feature that people can be interested in the zoom in. So I can zoom in into a specific, just clicking on that, I can zoom in into a specific element, and I can also keep zooming, and I can go to the details page, this workload, right? And in this workload is going to give me a mini graph showing me what is the status, also more summary of the workload of the pods, right? How are the pods with all this information? More interesting information. So I guess that we can show tab with the logs. In the logs, we can show the application logs, but also the Istio proxy, the Envoy proxy logs as well. And I think this is something that is going to like a lot of people. That, okay, what this log means, right? One interesting feature is that if this icon, information icon, if you click it here, you will see how we can explain what all the fields of the Envoy access log entry means, right? So this is the one row, and I want to understand, okay, what is the status code? So we have all this information about all Envoy has a vast level of details of information, and you will like to understand, okay, what means an upstream cluster, and so on, right? As I commented at the beginning, the Kiali project tried to collect a lot of type of telemetry, right? We try to collect telemetry from the Prometheus for metrics. We try to collect telemetry from tracing, for logs, and try to combine it. So this is something that we do, for example, with these tabs, right? With this tab, we can combine the metrics that provide out of the box with several levels of, we can just to add more. But the interesting is that we can combine with the tracing. So what you are seeing here is overlapping the tracing information plus with the telemetry information, right? And also you can enable trend lines just also to understand, okay, how is the trend of this particular metric that we have, right? Also, you can see a specific detail of tracing. And the most interesting of the correlation is this, right? Is this trace good or bad, right? So this is what we are comparing this telemetry with a heat map, let's call it in that way. And we can show, okay, how is this particular trace compared with an average, a median, of a statistical of your cluster, right? Just to try to answer, okay, is this mid-value, good, bad, and this is basically the value of try to, when you're investigating some kind of slow request, if that is under the normal or is something that we need to investigate further, right? And as I commented, so if you need to go to the Jaeger, so we provide integration, right, with Jaeger just to jump and just to try to get into the details of the tracing, right? About correlation of the tracing, I would like to show you a couple of things that probably could be interesting, right? I'm going to go to the book info, right, the typical book info, and if I click a workload, I see that in a particular world, I can also show several traces. And I can see, if I click a specific trace, I can overlap a particular trace, selecting one trace on top of the graph, right? So I can see,
Wow.
this particular trace, okay, how it's working in this graph, etc. Right. This is something pretty powerful also to understand, okay, how this is working, right? Another thing that I would like to comment, because something that I asked too much. So I can, Lucas, what you're talking is about the configuration of the histotelemetry. Can I provide my own metrics, my own configuration in Kiali? Yes, you can. So by default, what we tried is to provide an opinionated charts for the histometrics, but also we provide custom metrics. So if you have your application metrics, and you want to combine application metric with histometric, is something that you can also see that in Kiali, and also combine with the power of the spans, right? This is something out of the box that you can do. How to expand this also with annotation, right? Let me just to click here to the configuration. In the custom dashboard, you will see that, how to define this custom dashboard. I guess that, okay, so just in your namespace, you can declare a template, a chart, and also in the deployment, you can also define a specific template for just to show the specific metrics that you want to show, combined with what all the Kiali provides to you by out of the box, right? Okay, so more things. I guess that another feature that, I wanted to start, that these are very minor scenario, but I wanted to tell to show you one of the areas that we are working pretty hard is about the scalability, just also to answer the user role. In real scenarios, we go beyond for one single namespace, right? And we want to see a pretty large number of namespaces and workloads. So this is what we are working pretty hard, right? As you can see, this is something that when I try to put 21 namespaces with 100 of workload, probably we need to have a better user experience. And this is what the team is working pretty hard, right? To provide different layouts of the visualization, right? To try to provide a better experience at scale. So in that case, we can show, okay, how I can provide this. I can also to enable namespace boxes, right? And I can also to try to test different layouts in order to find representation that works. Another interesting feature is that I can hide and just focus on the edge with error. So I don't need to hide everything that works perfectly, right? I can just tell me, oh, show me only the edges that has some kind of problem, because this is what I want to focus. I want to zoom in and try to understand if these errors are normal or not, or just to hide everything, right? And try to scale. So this is one area that we are working pretty, and we are keep investing, right? To try to, I will try to provide a nice experience when we scale, because this is one of the use cases where the users are deploying Istio. It's just to provide solutions to large clusters of communication, right? Okay, so I guess this is for the visualization. I would like also to comment that, for example, in the Istio systems, if you go to the overview, you will see links with the Grafana predefined dashboards that you have ready in the mess. So that is something that you have it from here. Also, one specific area, for example, if we go to the travel agency, right? I can see all the services. I can go to the details of a service as well. One aspect that perhaps is less known is that we can also to create we can create the Istio configuration from the wizard. So we provide some kind of wizards that can tell me, okay, I want to route to all these workloads, right? And I'm going to add this kind of rules. And now we introduce a preview mode. So a preview mode is before to create anything by you, it's just to show you, okay, this is the configuration that I'm going to create, right? And you can decide if you want to copy or download this configuration to use it in a different environment, or just to let Kiali to create it, right? Who's going to asking you if you have rights to do that. And what Kiali is going to do is to create some configuration for you, right? And this is something that we introduced new, is that where we are browsing, you can see now that you have in the help that depending of the field that you are, Kiali is trying to identify the fields and try to give you more information about what is this field for the virtual service of this specific resort. We are also trying to link the reference. This is something that's pretty important because typically this virtual service needs to work in combination with a destination rule, and I would like also to browse from one to another. And yeah, one typical scenario of feature is about the validation. This is one of the key features of Kiali. If I'm modifying this configuration and I detect something wrong, okay, these subset labels are not. It's something that is trying to help you to give you some errors or warnings about some configuration that perhaps is not well defined, right? More things. So I guess that also, if we talk about security, we have also by the namespace, and we can ask Kiali to apply all the authorization policies as sidecars, also by you, based on the current traffic that you can see is, okay, so Kiali is reading all the traffic that is currently working, and it can define all authorization policies for your specific scenario. Until only these workloads are going to be allowed to talk each other, and I will not allow to do that. So something that this is the suggested authorization policies and sidecars, and I can create them. Yeah, and I can see how I can browse all the authorization policies, all the sidecars, right, for Kiali.
Wow, it looks like the tool is becoming really a comprehensive dashboard. It's really fascinating to see.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that the idea, for example, is to try to help the user to scenarios like this. Like, is, for example, I have this namespace. I see, okay, I have a warning. I have a warning in the destination work. What is telling me it has not label, so it could be a warning, could be not. So the idea is to try to help the users to understand if that configuration could be correct or not. Right?
Yeah, I particularly liked. I think there were two instances where you showed how, from a mountain of information, you could zero in on I think one was the traces that were problematic that had latency in them, and then the other one was that kind of show all the namespaces and find the issues and being able to zero in on a particular spot that sort of making sense of just like a needle in the haystack type of problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that we are keep improving. One thing that I guess that is let's meet also to create a more elaborated scenario, because one of the more powerful feature is to query the graph. I like to say query the graph. It's not really a query a backend, but let me just go to the namespaces, and I can just to put the view of my workloads, right? And imagine that I have, a pretty large workloads that I want to identify, and I want just to try to identify. Okay, just show me what are the unhealthy ones, right? And I need to highlight what are the workloads that have some kind of problems, or hide me, for example, all the healthy one. I focus only on the unhealthy one, right? This is pretty powerful in the meaning that, okay, I have 21 namespaces, more than 100 workloads, and I want very quickly try to visualize what could be a potential problem, right? Where to go from here? Okay, so I see this one server that is, I have 3 communicated, it's highlighted. I can click there. I can, to have a more clean view of this particular workload, and I can just to get deep into the details and just to try to investigate, okay, the traffic, the logs, to see more details. Okay, just, to investigate if this is under normal, or is something that I need to get more deep into the logs to try to understand if it's something that is expected. When we go deep and we want to debug, we can go to the envoy And we know that the Envoy has, the configuration. If you try to browse the raw configuration of Envoy, you can find that you have more than 30K lines. Right? That is pretty. This is one of the features of the service mesh. Try to simplify the configuration of Envoy by you, right? But also one thing that we try to do from Kiali is provide to the workload an Envoy tab, where we can show you in a summarize what are the clusters, what are the listeners that are working for this particular proxy, the roots. If the root has also one particular virtual service, link the root with the virtual services that is providing this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's something that you can click, navigate. Okay, so this root is affected by these virtual services. It's something that people don't really see.
Yeah, you can see the link. Yeah, a link between them. Yeah, because you're right. I would say it's outright intimidating when you first look at an Envoy configuration and making sense. And then you realize the Bootstrap configuration is a lot of it, so maybe you can ignore that. And you start to make sense. But here is a view that's designed specifically to break it down for you.
Exactly. It's to try to digest all this configuration in something that is in useful terms, right? And we are using the same Envoy terminology, right? The cluster, listener, roots, but also we provide the raw configuration because we understand that if you are here, it's because you are debugging something and you want to check if there is, something else that is just providing a bad config at the low level, right? And you would like to see what are the real listeners that are being adopted in here. And also, we know that the Envoy, the low-level Envoy are providing some telemetry that we also put it here as well. And also that can combine as well with the spans as usual. And you can see here the specific low-level Envoy metrics combined with the spans.
So here's one thought. I guess if I'm used to running istio-cuddle analyze or istio-cuddle proxy config to try to make sense of this is actually much more powerful because I don't have to limit myself to just the output of one command. It's all sort of built into the dashboard. So
we combine both. So indeed, when you are running, I don't have enabled istio analyze by default because you can configure the service mesh to analyze on the fly. But if you configure that, you will see also combine all the warnings there. So we try to combine, and the istio analyzer started to be more static, in the meaning to be more focused that the scheme is correct, the values are correct, and Kiali tries to do a semantic validation. I mean, when you are typing a workload, Kiali will try to tell you, hey, that workload doesn't exist. So probably if you are routing, something is not going to work, right? Perhaps the scheme, the syntax is correct, but that workload doesn't exist. So that is the kind of a scenario that we are trying to focus, the correlation, or that you have a virtual services that needs a gateway, and the gateway is not pointing to the right virtual services or things like that are correct. You can create that resources, but altogether perhaps may have some conflict. That is right now the area that we are trying to focus and combine. It's not to choose one to another. You need to choose both. But the idea is that Kiali is going to provide to you more semantic or deep warnings on investigation about, okay, if one configuration is correct or may have something to address.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm not sure if you had other facets of the tool that you wanted to show, or if we're coming.
Just to finish this quick overview, because I apologize, I ran too fast. Is also that you can see in the details that also we can show the service entries. We collect all this information from the istio registry as well. So when you have a service entry pointing to external services, you can see here as well, linking with all the istio configuration which is related to a particular service. So in one view, in one service view, you can see, okay, I have this service entry. This service entry has, all this particular area, and I can, for example, go to this other example and go to the graph, and I can try to reset my previous filters. And I can show you, for example, things that, okay, so I have here an ingress gateway, a workload that is communicating with external service via an ingress gateway, right?
Yeah, and I guess for the benefit of the audience, One observation I made, which I really enjoy, is how well the tool is discoverable. It is, if you're new to the interface, there's a legend that explains every single icon. You could see a lot of thought was put into how we're going to display something. You see some kind of acronym like an A, and you hover over it, and it tells you, okay, that represents an application. And you turn on kind of one of the metrics, maybe a request per second, and you find out that there's also some panel that can actually show you exactly the explanation of that metric and what it represents. It's, I think, really beautifully done. I really appreciate those fine touches.
Thank you. The team will be happy to hear that. We also it's a work in progress area, because the user interface is we are also trying to evolve. So I'm trying also to learn, especially to learn what the user needs, and this is something that all the feedback from the user is pretty important to us, just to learn what is working, what is not clear. When we have some feature, I guess that 1 year ago in the IstioCon, some users tell me, "Hey, I didn't know that you have wizards to create it, because it's a little bit hidden, right?" And this is something that, for example, when we have some kind of the contextual menu, also to try to to show to navigate faster. We are striving to learn from the people how we can improve the use cases. If these use cases are working for you, or is something that we can do better, or or put, for example, this kind of actions in other kind of place. So yeah, we are the UX never stop. We are trying always to improve this user interface to make it more useful, more simple, right?
Yeah. Okay, I see my colleague Peter asked a question. I went ahead and popped it on the screen there. You mentioned the concept of the application that collates all the workloads with the label app, my app. Are there any other labels that Kiali looks at or makes use of?
I say that the Istio one. So basically, Kiali is using two type of labels: the app label and the version one, right? Yeah. And if you don't have them for some reason, for example, I have one workload that is not in the mesh, right? I'm going to have information like, okay, this is the missing sidecar, right? And yeah. I have one app label, but I don't have other kind of labels. The app label and version label are important for not only for collecting telemetry, but also the version label is important in case that you want to apply routing traffic. So if you want to apply virtual services to put advanced networking routing, or typically the destination rules use the labels to just to discriminate which workload should be routing one other direction.
Yeah, I agree. Those are, I would say, almost mandatory conventions in Istio that you want to follow. So you're deploying workloads to the mesh. You want to use the app and the version labels because a lot of assumptions are drawn from it. Canary deployments and traffic management. Okay. I see another question from, or maybe it's a comment. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen. So John is asking, the graph has a new feature where you can filter the graph on your own label. So you can pick a label. That's great. There's a label filter.
Yeah, exactly. So
thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. It's pretty new. So it's something that we are also to try to in this graph. So we can also to use define and also to put here more specific expression just to filter just for this particular label, right? Especially when you have a pretty large scenario as I show, right? That could be pretty useful.
Yeah. Okay, so I suspect folks will probably want to know what version of Kiali are you demonstrating. I suspect it's the latest, probably.
Yes, this is the latest that we released. Let me to increase the font. Is the 1.49. Yeah. So this project is quite active. So we release every 3 weeks, right? We try also to update every major version of Istio. We try also to bump the Kiali version that we use. But even if that, so we release every 3 weeks. And also, if you go to the installation guide, for example, you will see all the compatibility with the version. This is something that people ask. Okay, if I'm using the version, the Istio 1.12 version, what should be the appropriate Kiali version to work on, right? So we try to update this. Yeah, because we try to not miss the train with features. So it's something that we offer compatibility in this set of versions that are linked with a particular version of Istio. Right?
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, Lucas, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this this demo, and I hope the community also now is sort of aware of some of the hidden gems that exist in this particular tool. And again, I suppose what I would like to do is remind our audience that we have a community Slack channel where you can, even if you have a question that you didn't manage to ask, you can come over here to our Tetrate Tech Talks channel and continue the conversation. So we're monitoring it. We have a bunch of people on that Slack channel. So if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask. And of course, Kiali is an open source project. It has a GitHub repository. It has an issue management system. It has documentation. And so there are many, many ways in which you can reach either us here at Tetrate Tech Talks or if it's a Kiali specific matter on the Kiali website.
Yeah, thank you, Eitan, Tetrate team, just for the invitation and the opportunity just to demonstrate the project to the audience. And yes, any question, follow up, yeah, people feel free to contact, keep in touch with the team. I will be more than happy to try to learn from you, especially what you have to say, all our suggestions. Yeah, we invite everyone to collaborate. So it's open source. We are community first. This is our goal, is to try to be useful for any platform and any potential distribution of Istio.
Terrific. I have a couple of links here. It might be a little bit dated, but if you want to go deeper, if you're new to Kiali, there's a travel demo tutorial, which I highly recommend. I worked through it a couple of weeks ago. And there's also a recording of Lucas working through that tutorial and demonstrating all of the features in last year's IstioCon Kiali workshop. All right. Well, thank you, Lucas. It was a pleasure having you on, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you. The pleasure was mine. Yeah, see you in the next one.
Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Just a couple of closing notes in terms of just matters regarding the Tech Talks. Just a reminder that next week we have a bye week. That basically means that we're not going to have an episode on account of the fact that IstioCon will be in full bloom, so to speak. So there will be sessions going on, and I seriously intend to be watching many of them and learning from the wider community. We'll be back on Friday, May 6th, where we interview Brian Sletton, who will be talking to us about WebAssembly. And then May 13th, you see also here a mention of the episode for that week, which it'll be interesting. I might already be in Spain by May 13th, so we'll do kind of a remote version of the Tech Talks. Also, another reminder that if you are keen on certification, if you've gotten your Kubernetes certification, CKA and CCAD, and you're sort of ready to take the next plunge into service mesh that Tetrate offers, a Certified Istio Administrator exam, and supporting this exam is the Tetrate Academy at academy.tetrate.io, where we have a pair of free courses, Istio Fundamentals and Envoy Fundamentals, that you can also use to help you prepare for that certification. So if you're interested, that's the place to go. And I believe we have also a 30% off coupon that I can share with you. I'll put it on the screen here. And I'll make sure to also put it in chat or expose that, or if you want to ask about it in our Slack channel, we'll be happy to share that information with you as well. And I think that concludes our episode. So thank you for your time, and I will see you in 2 weeks when we talk to Brian. Bye-bye.